We contacted 28 different fin brands. 13 of them sent us their fin, and with prices ranging from 140 to 500 euros, we took them to the test to see if they're worth the money. And by the end of the video, you will have the chance to win your favorite fin out of this whole review. So be sure to watch until the end to find out how you can enter the giveaway. And now let's go.
Denmark in October. It's pretty cold, but it's also pretty windy, and we're ready here to test the fins. And when I say we, I have a friend with me by the name of Michel. Michel also has a YouTube channel. We'll link it down below, so make sure to check it out. And he will help me today to test the fins. How you feel about it?
For sure, I'm excited. It's gonna be a challenge, but yeah.
I mean, look at all these fins here. This is a pretty decent setup. Today we're gonna find out which fin has the most control, which fin is the fastest, and which fin has the most value for money. We have our sails ready. What size did you rig?
6'8".
Okay.
So pretty similar to yours.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a 6'6", and yeah, wind is going up and down. I would say 17 to
I don't know, like 25.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
17 to 25. So it's gusting pretty strong.
And it should increase even more.
Exactly. So we get the full range from well, relatively light wind to really strong. So we'll really test the fins to the limit. I would say let's get going, huh?
Let's go.
Prepare for a long video, guys. We tested 13 different fins. Took us a lot of time, but don't worry, we put the timestamps below so you can scroll through the video and find exactly the fin you're looking for.
You know, fins are such an important part of your kit, whether it's a free ride, free race or slalom board. It often is such an easy way to upgrade your setup. And of course a lot of boards do come with a fin. But we wanted to make this review about dedicated fin brands.
And in fact, the only thing we told those fin brands is what boards we test with. They didn't have to send us carbon fins, but somehow we ended up with 13 carbon fins. Our testing criteria were pretty simple. We tested for control, ease of use, acceleration, top speed, manufacturing quality, and value for money. So we're starting with the Techart fin from Italy.
When we talk about controllability, we talk about how much security does the fin give you in the high-end conditions when you're really powered up. Do you have to put a lot of focus and effort to keep the nose from raising? And is the fin predictable?
Now I start to understand the difference between controllability and ease of use in our criteria. Because the fin is in controllability, I'll give it a 2. So the nose wants to rise all the time and it's not very predictable. But in ease of use, it doesn't generate a lot of lift, so it keeps the board low on the water and it doesn't go so fast. So therefore, it's relatively easy to use. So I would give it ease of use. I would give it a 3.5.
So it was interesting to see how this fin really had the tail of the board quite low in the water, and that put the nose a bit higher. But really what you want is a level trim. Therefore, it also didn't accelerate so well. It didn't give you that lift when you needed it. So I was a little bit on the fence between the 2 and the 3, but yeah, I ended up giving it a 2.5 for the acceleration. Also with the top speed, I was not super happy. For the top speed, I wanted to give it a 2. Control and high end, often results in a good top speed, and I didn't have that control, and therefore I wasn't able to go really fast. On the other hand, you have to say, if you look at this fin, it's manufactured beautifully. There were basically no flaws in the whole blade, no scratches, nothing, and you have a carbon base. Yeah, it's the nicer option compared to the gel coat fin heads we have over here. And yeah, overall it's really well manufactured. The only little thing I would say is the fin cover. The fin cover is, well, it's foam, and I think it will break relatively easily. It would have been a 5, but I will deduct probably 0.5 points for the fin cover. But let's see what Michel had to say about this fin.
So the Techart felt a little bit like a small tank. If I wanted to accelerate, there was not much feedback, and then also the top end speed or the top speed was not super good. But if I was just like going 90% of the speed, it was quite easy to use. But then when I fully wanted to fully accelerate, then it lost a little bit of control.
So to sum it up, for control I gave it 2 points and Michel 3. In terms of ease of use, it was a 3.5 for me and 4 points for Michel. Acceleration, I had it at 2.5 and Michel at 2. Top speed, we both had it at 2 points. Manufacturing quality was a 4.5, and the value for money was 3 points for me and 4 for Michel.
And before we go to the next fin, we have to mention that a 2 or a 3 is not really a bad score, because we are comparing these fins to really the high-end fins that basically PWA riders are using. So for each fins we have either 1 or 2 or 3 benchmarks which really set the score at 5, and everything below doesn't mean that it's really bad. So a 3 or a 2 can still be a great fin.
I have to say the spot is not optimal for what we're doing. It's quite shallow and we're testing carbon fins. Some rocks here and there. It's a bit risky and tricky.
Yeah, the outline really is the most distinguished to all the other fins, and also the surface material, the Textreme you have here. But I was positively surprised. It did give me a lot of control actually. It felt relatively soft, so I had the lift to really get the board on the rail quite easily. But at the same time, the nose, when I hit the gas or I hit the chop, it never took off, and I was able to keep it on the water with fairly little effort. So in terms of control, I would give it a 4.5, not a 5. I think there is still some more to gain in terms of control, but I would give it a 4.5. And because it was so easy to get on the rail and it felt so predictable, I would give it a 4 in terms of ease of use. So even if you're not so experienced, I think this one would work quite well.
Since Michel and I are rather prosumers, when we talk about ease of use, what we mean is, can this fin perform at say 80% of its full potential? Is it a fin for free racers? How easy is it to get the board on the rail, especially on the lower to mid end when you're not fully stacked?
And top speed, it was really fast, but it wasn't quite the last few percent of the chopper. It didn't have, but I would give it a top speed of probably 4, about 4. And then value for money, 329. I think it's a great value for money. I'd probably give it a 4.
In terms of acceleration, it didn't give me that real direct response. Like I said, it was fairly easy to rail and felt like it had some softness to it, but the response wasn't quite there. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I wouldn't give it a 4. So I would say something between 3 and 4, so therefore 3.5 points in acceleration. Manufacturing quality, I have to say it looks quite flawless. So no problems on the blade, nice fin head, really top notch. The only thing is, I'm not fully convinced by the fin cover, because you have the material separating here. Could probably end up a lot of sand in here, and then you have fin cover sort of falling apart here. I mean, it's not a major issue, and the fin itself looks phenomenal. So therefore, I would give it a 4.5 as well, just because the fin cover I feel like could be better. but that's really a minor detail. It doesn't affect the performance.
Summing up, a quite well performing finish fin. In control I gave it 4.5 points while Michel had it at 3. Ease of use was for me a 4 and 3 points for Michel. Acceleration I had it at 3.5, not quite as high as Michel with a 4. Top speed for me was a 4 and Michel saw it quite fast at 5 points. Manufacturing quality was a 4.5, which puts it at a very good 4 points in terms of value for money for both Michel and me.
This is going to be an interesting one, because this is the most expensive fin out of them all. And the shortest.
Alright, do you see that? It says 33 and next to it, it says 38. This is the concept of the fin. It is 33 centimeters long, but it's supposed to feel like a 38.
I have to say the concept did not quite work for me. Sometimes I could find it, but really with a lot of fine tuning and being very careful, but I could feel that I'm missing some fin. I had a couple of spin outs. Top speed also wasn't there because I couldn't make the board fly well enough with this fin, so top speed is also a 3.
As you heard, I was not quite convinced by the concept and I really had some problems finding the right trim with it. I have to say it does feel bigger than a 33, but it certainly doesn't feel like a 38. So yeah, there's more lift than a 33 would normally have. Yeah, but it still felt like I was constantly looking for like, hey, where's my surface, where's the fin? And therefore it had a lot of roll. So I couldn't just set the board in one position and keep it there. The windward rail would often drop, which is a phenomenon we know from a too small fin. You have to say that, of course, a small fin in strong wind, it lets you control it because it doesn't create too much power, which then you can't handle, right? So therefore, it was on a 3 range for me in terms of control. But when we come to ease of use, you really have to have a very fine feeling to find the fin and to not be out of balance. So in terms of ease of use, I would actually give it a 2. And then when we talk about acceleration, it just, the fin area wasn't there, and when you want to push, it didn't accelerate very well, which is why I would give it only a 2 in terms of acceleration.
When we talk about acceleration, what we mean is, from what speed on can we already push against the fin? Do you spin out or does it give you grip right away? How fast do you get to top speed? Acceleration is important when you start planing or when you're coming out of a jibe. And this really was a fin where I was happy that we have a second tester to verify my feelings.
It was really interesting because it was by far the shortest. Yeah, I was curious, and in the end it felt too small and too big at the same time, which is weird. So for controllability and ease of use, I really can't give more than 2 out of 5. Yeah, especially when I went to jibe, I felt I was missing a bit of grip. So easily over the chop here, I got like almost a spin out. And then speed and acceleration also wasn't so great. I just couldn't really get going, combined with a not so big control. Acceleration 1 out of 5 and speed 2 out of 5. And I think it's also the most expensive fin of the test. So I have to give it a rating of, 0 or 1 out of 5. I don't want to be rude, but that's just how it is in this test.
And in terms of manufacturing quality, the fin looks perfect, great manufacturing quality, really nice cover. The only minor thing is that on the coating of the head, we don't have a carbon finish. But for that I would deduct maybe half a point, so 4.5 points in terms of manufacturing quality.
Summing up the Gasoil fin. When it comes to control, I had it at 3 points while Michel had it at 2. We had a similar opinion in terms of ease of use. We both gave it 2 points. For the acceleration, I have the Gasoil at only 2 points and Michel even worse at only 1 point. Top speed, well, it was not so bad, but it wasn't quite where the top fins were. I gave it 3 points, Michel saw it a bit slower with 2 points. The manufacturing quality was quite good, so 4.5 points. But guys, for a 500 euro fin, this is really not enough, so the value for money for me was 1.5 points and Michel only 1.
Oh, this one from straight from the most expensive to the cheapest fin.
I wish I knew how to pronounce the model name of this fin. It's a Zulu from South Africa. It's called, I guess, Ikelwa, something like that. It costs only 140 euros. I would say it was a very interesting test. For me, it was definitely lacking some control in the higher end. But it being a Freerace fin, this is maybe not where it has to perform as all the other fins. But in terms of ease of use, it was fairly easy to lift it up on the rail. But this is where it has the problems in control, because it wants to keep lifting and almost overlift. It's hard to keep it under control when you get into the high-end wind, the strong wind. But when you get going, and yeah, at really, I would say 80% of its top speed, it's working pretty nice. In terms of acceleration, it wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. Let's say if you push it, when you get going, you can't push full on. So it kind of wants to overlift. So you have to be a bit gentle. So therefore, for me, that's only a 2.5. But in terms of top speed, it's not made to compete with, let's say, a chopper fin. It also doesn't really, which I'm sort of happy about, because it's a Freerace fin and it shouldn't be as fast as our high-end top fins. So here I would only give 2 points.
Top speed is easy to explain. What is the maximum potential speed throughout the whole run? You can test it with a GPS watch, but it surely is more accurate to test with a reference rider, because if you rely on absolute numbers, you never know if you were more lucky with a chop or gusts.
One big problem with this fin, however, is the manufacturing quality. If you compare it to all the other fins, I mean, of course, it's the cheapest fin, so therefore, yeah, it might be justified, but I just have to say that as soon as you have a slightest scratch from perhaps putting it in the sand in the fin, you can just peel off the gel coat of the fin with your nail. And if you compare this to one of the carbon fins, you can peel as much as you want and you don't get anything. The same goes for the head of the fin. You see it peeling off everywhere, which is probably not a big issue because it's a gel coat. I would probably just sand it off straight away, off the whole fin. But this is not a nice finish. And also the design you see here, it sort of creates waves on a fin. Like you can, hardly, but you can feel the waves when you go over it. And this is not something you want to have on a fin. Additionally, you have the cover, which really basically is just foam glued together, and it breaks very easily. So therefore, yeah, in terms of manufacturing quality, I will have to put it as low as a 2.
It felt quite solid, I have to say. The acceleration was not super great, so only 2 out of 5. The speed was quite solid. I'm happy with that. You could quite use the gust and so on. So I would rate it a 3 out of 5. The control itself was only a 2 out of 5. But yeah, if we come to the easy of use, then yeah, I would rate it a 3, because if you're not a professional slalom rider, you're not pushing the fin so much, you know. So then it was quite good to use. I want to point out that the cover already broke after using it twice. But for the price, it's definitely a 5 for the value for money. And I could see a reason to rather buy 2 or 3 of these than one of the other. For example, if you're young, not so much money, or it's your first slalom board and you want to upgrade the fins, then I could really see using this fin.
Summing up the cheapest fin of the test, Michelle and I both had it at 2 points for control. We both had it at 3 points for ease of use. The acceleration for me was 2.5, while it was 2 points for Michelle. And he was able to get this fin slightly faster than I was, so he had it at 3 points, while I had it at 2 points. The manufacturing quality unfortunately only was 2 points. The value for money was really very good, which is why I gave it 4 points, and Michelle would even give it 5 points.
The fin with the longest journey was quite good in control and top speed, but you have to be a bit gentle with it, especially if you want to rail the board steadily and keep it flying. In terms of ease of use, I would go in the medium range. It's not really difficult to use, but there are also definitely fins which are easier for less experienced people. So therefore I would go with a 3, so definitely in the mid-range. In terms of acceleration, the same thing happens. So you really have to be a bit more sensitive and gentle when you start pushing it and you want to start railing the board and get it flying. Therefore I would also be in the mid-range with a 3.
It feels stiff, which gives it quite a good control in the strong wind now. I would give it a 4 in control. That allows you also to go quite fast in this gnarly chop here. So, and also in speed I would give it a 4.
Apart from the few fingerprints this fin has from me, it is absolutely beautifully manufactured. I didn't find any flaws on the blade itself. The fin head is full carbon and well, what can I say? It was just flawless. And the fin cover is super tight. It's like really perfectly made for the size of fin, so it doesn't really fall off. And it protects the fin well. The only minor thing, which is why I wouldn't give it a 5, is that it was really tight to fit into the board. So you might have to put a lot of force or sand the fin off a bit, which is why I wouldn't go as high as 5. But also that was a minor thing, so in terms of manufacturing quality, I would give it a 4.5.
When we look at manufacturing quality, we look at how is the finish of the fin. How does the fin blade look? Are there any scratches? Are there bumps in the blade? Are there any dents in the leading or trailing edge? How does the fin head look? Is it made out of carbon or finished with a gel coat? How's the fin cover and does it protect the fin well? Summing up, the N1 Type F fin for me was fairly good in control. I gave it 4 points, while Michelle had some more struggles with it and gave it only 2 points. Ease of use for me was 3 points and 2 points for Michelle. The acceleration, we both had it at 3 points. The top speed, I was able to get it a bit faster, so I gave it 4 points, while Michelle had it at 3. A really well manufactured fin, for me 4.5 points.
Well, what can I say? I mean, sometimes a fin just suits you a little bit better, or perhaps also suits your gear, your board, and your riding style a little bit better. I think generally Michelle and I had fairly similar results, but of course there are a few differences here and there. For me, the N1 fin, in terms of value for money, was a 4.5. I mean, you're getting a beautifully manufactured fin, which, in my point of view, has a lot of control, solid top speed, solid acceleration. The whole package is just really good for the price it offers. For Michel, however, he was not quite as happy with the fin, so we were not really on the same line here. He would give it a 3.5 in terms of value for money. So I gotta say, this fin really was the big surprise of the test for me. The whole process in, let's say, ordering this fin, if you were to order it, was quite fascinating, because they were asking me for so many different metrics: what board I'm using, what my weight is, what conditions I will use it in, what's the width of my board, and all these details, which apparently makes this a custom fin. So apparently the layup is made in a way where it really fits to all these metrics, and I gotta say, it worked quite well. For the acceleration, it was really predictable. I was able to really push it without having to be worried about a spin out. I'm not quite on the top of all these fins, so I think there would still be a little bit of something to gain, but I would still give it a 4. It was still really good, so that's not a bad thing. Also, in terms of speed, it quite wasn't where I would need it for my competitions, but it's still a 4. So it's really a good fin for me.
I really enjoyed this fin. It's has a good ease of use. So when you like pushed it into spin out accidentally, it's super easy to catch it back. Felt quite controllable. Actually, when you need to push and when you need to lift the board, it's easy to find it. It's easy to find the pressure. So very good ease of use. I would give it a 5 out of 5 in terms of ease of use. Controllability, I would give it a 4. I think in the high end there are fins that are a little bit better than this.
When we look at the manufacturing quality, it's flawless. It has this nice yellow lime look to it. Yeah, no scratches, no dents, nothing. A nice fin cover that comes along with it. The only minor detail is that the head of the fin kind of scratches relatively easily. So the gel coat on top of on top of the carbon here really puts easy scratches into it. So that's a small detail, but we're looking at everything here, so I'm looking at that. I imagine if someone of you has it in the trailer with all those scratches, it doesn't look 100%, but yeah, it doesn't affect the performance. So manufacturing quality for me is a 4.5.
So both Michelle and I really enjoyed this fin, which is why our feedback is fairly similar. In terms of control, we both had it at 4 points. When it comes to ease of use, I saw it just a bit better and actually one of the best performing fins in the test in that category, so I gave it 5 points while Michelle gives it 4. The acceleration for me was a solid 4 points, same as for Michelle, and the top speed for both of us was another 4 points. Manufacturing quality, 4.5 points, and Michelle likes to keep it at the 4 throughout all categories, while I gave it a full 5 points.
The bug fin, it was very controllable. That's felt quite unique about this fin. Very good control. It did whistle. It was a bit strange. It was a strange whistling sound. But in terms of control, I would probably give it a 4.5. It was really controllable.
And then in terms of ease of use as well, it was really fairly easy to use, very predictable. Already in the low speeds, you could rail it. It was just overall a great feeling, even when we're not fully pushing this fin to the limit. For me, a 4 in terms of ease of use. In terms of acceleration, it was solid. It wasn't on the levels of say a Sonntag or for me also a chopper. So there I would go with a 3. And it was fast. I mean, especially when you want to push it. It's windy, it's choppy, and you have that control, which really for me stood out about this fin. You can go fast, and that for me puts it to probably a 4. There are still some fins in the test that for me were a touch faster, but 4 in terms of speed, I think that's really good. And especially when we look at the price of this thing, 250 euros. Are you kidding me? I mean, check out the manufacturing quality. It's a beautiful fin, no scratches, no nothing. Sharp trailing edge, nice leading edge. The head is full carbon. I mean, really solid fin and good fin cover. So this for me, in terms of manufacturing quality, is a 5 out of 5. And if you ask me, for this price, that puts it at a 5 as well. So really good value for money. Good job, guys. And we'll look at the full result.
So Michelle had it more in the mid-range, while I rated it slightly better. The control for me was 4.5 points, while Michelle had it at 3. Ease of use, 4 points for me and 3 points for Michelle. We both saw the acceleration at 3 points. In terms of top speed, for me it was a 4, while Michelle wasn't quite sure between 3.5 and 4 points. The manufacturing quality is top-notch, so I'd give it 5 points.
That for me puts it, in terms of value for money, as a 5. ERD, Expert Riding Design, that's what it stands for. Definitely the best looking fin cover. The fin model is called Fast Lane, and they did send us a 38 centimeter fin. Very solid fin throughout. So in terms of control, I didn't feel like I had to worry about a wave throwing me off or a gust making the board lift too much. The fin really released well and released the power well, and therefore it was for me a solid 4. It also was easy to use for me, so you could sit on it, very predictable. You really kind of knew what the fin was going to do with you. Already at a low speed, there was never really a concern of spinning out when you press too hard on your back foot, so in that sense it was forgiving. The acceleration, yeah, like I said, it's predictable, and that also helps you when you accelerate at low speed. You can push, you don't have to worry that the fin spins out. You have grip at very low speed, and therefore you can lift yourself out of the water and get it going. So also that for me is a solid 4. Both Michel and I agreed about the control and the ease of use. He really liked the acceleration about this fin.
Was actually quite surprising. The acceleration felt super nice. I would actually give it a 5, maybe 4.5, but I think the 5 is fair.
At first glance, it looks really well, but we did find, unfortunately, a major scratch right on the blade, and that for me is a no-go. The blade has to just look perfect. I don't know if that's an exception, but that's the fin we got. On top of that, when you go along the leading edge with your finger, you feel some bumps there, and leading edge is a very important part of the fin, and therefore this just shouldn't happen. I mean, of course, the head of the fin and the cover, these are all like details. This is where I would deduct maybe half a point, but the blade is what should look and work nice, because that's where the performance comes from. So yes, it has a nice cover, but all in all, for me, in terms of manufacturing quality, I would have to give it a 3.
All in all, definitely a great fin, and Michel and I sort of agreed about that. Looking at the control, we both gave it 4 points. Also 4 points for ease of use. Also 4 points for me in terms of acceleration, while Michel really was astonished by the acceleration, giving it 5 points. Top speed for me 3.5, slightly less with 3 points for Michel. And the manufacturing quality, well, with the scratch, we're only landing at 3 points.
Which for both of us, it's a solid 4 in terms of value for money.
That fin is always solid. One of my first racing fins that I got, I remember getting a set of 4 Z fins back then. It's great value for money, you know. It's always there, it's predictable, quite a lot of power, so that's the only thing I'm missing in the Z fin, that it doesn't release when you get really fast and really powered up. You get a lot of pressure on the back leg, and so that makes the fin very predictable, so it's very easy to use. Because it's always a very stable pressure. So in terms of ease of use, I would give it a 4.5. In terms of controllability, especially up in the high end when it gets really windy, I would probably give it a 3.5. However, on top speed, especially in low to medium wind, it's a really fast fin. So I'd give it a 4.5. Although I have to say that in the really high end, powered up, I would go down to a 4. And the acceleration, is good as well. So once you need the power, it's there. You don't get, in relatively low speed, you can already put a lot of pressure without getting a spin out. That's always a problem with some fins, that when you're too low and you give pressure, you get a spin out. But with this one, you can really accelerate out of the lower speeds. Out of the jibe, really good. Acceleration, I'd give it a 4.
Michel couldn't test this fin because it's a deep tuttle. I did tell them that it would fit in my board, which it did, but Michel's board doesn't have a deep tuttle box. If you compare the two fins, you will see that the Z fin has a much larger fin head, which doesn't make a difference in terms of performance. The base of this fin is pretty much free of flaws, so that's important and that's good. The head well, you can see that there are quite a few scratches visible already, so that doesn't look so nice. And also the base has a few minor holes, which just doesn't make it look as nice and perfect and shiny. It doesn't have any effect on the performance, but therefore in terms of manufacturing quality, I would give it a very good 4.
Summing up the Z fin, 3.5 in control, 4.5 in ease of use, so really very easy to use. Solid acceleration with 4 points. Extremely good top speed, 4.5 points. Can't quite give the 5 points. Manufacturing quality 4, and overall in terms of value for money, that's a solid 4 points.
325 euros, a good price for such a high performing fin. .38 centimeters and a very narrow tip. This is the tribal fin. I didn't quite like it so much, to be honest. In terms of control, I felt that the slim tip really had me involuntarily bearing off sometimes. So it was a bit hard to point and to really stay on the reach. And when you lose the control or when you hit a wave wrong, it kind of wanted to bear off and go downwind. So therefore, in terms of control, it did keep the nose low, but for me it's in the mid-range. It's a 3 in terms of control. But because it's just a little bit unpredictable in terms of where it wants to take you, it's not the best in ease of use. It's not terrible. The lift is there, definitely, so that would be a 2.5 for me. This was one of the few fins where Michel and I really had a little bit of a bigger difference in opinion.
In the acceleration, you really have to bear off a lot to get the speed. You can't lift it out, so therefore acceleration 2.5.
The tribal fin genuinely felt good. The acceleration was there for sure. I would probably give it a 4. The speed was also mediocre. I would probably give it a 3.5 because if I remember the other fins, it's like right between some of them. But what was really nice was the controllability over the waves. I had a pretty good trim in the board, so I would rate it a 4. If you're just cruising, and like after the jibes, it was also quite good. So the easy for use was also there.
The top speed was there, it was good. It was nothing that blew me away. So that was a solid mid-range. There I would give it a 3. What is great though is the manufacturing quality. We have a really sharp trailing edge. We have no flaws in the blade. It looks really nice matte finish. So nothing to complain about that. Of course, the head is not a full carbon head, which is something I don't like just because you see the scratches a bit more and it just doesn't mentally make me feel as good as when I know, okay, there you have carbon on carbon in the board, but it won't affect the performance. What is very nice though is the fin cover. It really covers the fin fully. It's a well-made bag, so therefore overall for me in terms of manufacturing quality, it's a 4.5.
So let's see where the tribal fin comes out. There was a slight difference between Michel's and my rating. Control, I had it at 3, while Michel had it slightly higher at 4. Ease of use, for me, I thought it was a bit more difficult to use, so 2.5 points, while Michel had it at a very solid 4. Same for the acceleration, 2.5 points for me and 4 for Michel. The top speed for me was in the mid-range, 3 points, while Michel put it slightly above the mid-range, and the manufacturing quality is a 4.5, very nicely finished fin. But in terms of value for money, I'd only give it 2.5 points for 349 euros. I would really expect a bit more performance, while Michel had it right in the middle at 3 points.
This is the fin I'm actually using in competition, so I have to be careful not to be biased, but I mean, there's a reason why I'm using it in competitions, because between the fins I've tested before this test, this has been my favorite choice, and actually I have been working with them a little bit, meaning that I have tested a couple of prototypes, and therefore I know this fin really well, and therefore also it works for me really well. Reason is because it does give you a lot of control. So The previous models actually had similar problems to most other fins, that when you hit a steep chop or a gust comes under the board, it would just power up and the nose would lift off, which now on the latest models is not happening anymore. And this for me is, this fin has the best control out of them all, which straight up is a full 5 points for me. It's fairly easy to use, but there are some fins in the test which are easier to use for free racers. You can't just push the fin blindly. You have to be, well, you have to know where the limit of the fin is in terms of pushing when you're on the lower end. It does give you the control, but it does not on a 5-point level give you that ease of use. It's still easy to use, so don't get me wrong. So in terms of ease of use, I would put it at a 4.
Acceleration out of the jibe, but really you have immediate control and push against the fin. So it has very direct feeling, no delay. So accelerates super quick. For me is also a 4.5 out of 5. It's hard to give a 5, huh?
For me, this is the fastest fin in the test, and I'm curious to hear if it's the same for Michel.
You definitely feel it's a top tier slalom fin. If you have power in the sail and you want to accelerate, it straight up just goes. So regarding acceleration, I would give 5 out of 5 points. Speed also. The only thing for controllability, I would say only 4, because I feel like it could have been a bit more stable over the chop. Yeah, but overall, 380 euros is the price for one fin. And yeah, I think I would value it 4 or even 5 out of 5 for the value for money.
So it looks like we agree that it's a fast fin, and well, manufacturing quality is what you would expect at a price of 380 euros. You have the logo engraved, you have the full carbon fin head, and you have a flawless blade.
The control came out for me at a full 5 points, while Michel had it at 4. Ease of use, we both had it at 4 points. Acceleration for me was 4.5, while Michel had it at a full 5 points. The top speed for both of us was top notch, the best of the test. And manufacturing quality, very nicely finished fin, 4.5 points. Value for money, it is an expensive fin, but for top level racing, for us it really was the best of the test, so 5 out of 5 points.
The Maui Ultra fin is an easy to use fin because of the wide tip. It really allows you to lift the board easily and controlled at lower speeds and when you're not fully powered up. So what it's lacking in the high-end control, it really gives you back in terms of ease of use, which for me puts it at a 4 for ease of use.
The wide tip really allows you to accelerate easily out of low speeds. You get a solid pressure point at very low speeds already, so that makes it very friendly and easy to use in lighter winds. So in terms of acceleration out of the jibe, etc., I would give it a 3.5. In terms of controllability, really in the high end, it generates a lot of power and it's missing release. That makes it really difficult to control when you're really powered up and going against heavy chop. And therefore, I would give it a 2 in terms of controllability.
Yeah, the top speed really is limited by the thick tip and by the lack of release and lack of control that you have when you're really fully powered up. Yeah, for me, top speed is probably a 3. It's not slow, it has a fast profile. You can feel that it's a fast fin, but the outline really sort of restricts you from going that last bit faster that you want to go. The manufacturing quality is generally good. The blade has no scratches, no waves. It has a very sharp trailing edge. The shiny finish is not something I like. I would feel more comfortable if it's matte, so I would have to sand it myself. The head of the fin does look nice with the logo, but it's just I don't know if it's full mold injected or if it's actually still a lot of carbon inside and it's just a cover, but it definitely is not a carbon head, so that's not so nice. And the fin cover is really a cheap foam, and I'm pretty sure it would start to get damaged very soon. It has a good blade, just a few minor details, so that for me is a 4. This is the other fin that Michel couldn't test because of the big base, which didn't fit in his board.
In terms of control, only 2 points. Ease of use, a lot better, 4 points, 3.5 in terms of acceleration. Top speed was right in the middle, 3. Manufacturing quality, 4. And that puts it at a value for money of a very solid 3.
It looks pretty nice, the fin. It also feels pretty nice. Has a good control, it sits quite low in the water, and even in strong gusts it doesn't lift off. So very good control, which even like I would say 4.5 in terms of control. It doesn't have that top speed. Somehow you don't get it super free, the board. The tail always sits a bit low in the water as opposed to other fins. So therefore in top speed you don't get it really fully released, which makes me give it a 3 in terms of top speed.
As you heard, the strong point of this fin really is the control. In terms of ease of use, it just doesn't have that lift that lets you rail the board easily without a lot of effort. And the same goes for the acceleration. It's just, well, you want to lift it, but it just doesn't give it to you. So here what you win on the control, you sort of lose it a bit in the acceleration. But another strong point of this fin is the manufacturing quality. I mean, this fin is, yeah, it's just beautiful. You know, the look, the red look is good. This standoff, you have a full carbon fin head, and the cover is nice. So you have this nice felt cover. And there are basically no flaws in this fin, and that for me puts it at a 5 in terms of manufacturing quality.
When it comes to control, Michel felt similar to me. He gave it a 4 points, while I even gave it 4.5. Ease of use, 3 points for me and 3.5 for Michel. We both had it at 3 for acceleration, and the same goes for the top speed. We had it at 3. Manufacturing quality, top notch, full 5 points, which for me, at a price of 250 euros, puts it at a value for money of 4 points. Michel had it at 3.
Yes, you don't get the fastest fin, but you get a very controllable fin. So if you often sail in difficult spots with a lot of chop, this is a big plus. For me, that puts it at a very solid 4 in terms of value for money, while Michel had it at a 3.
Yeah, a successful day. A lot of testing and walking forth and back. Just a quick word in the end. We wanted to mention which fins for us we would take in a testing pool to retest again in different conditions, which for us were the best fins. For me, that definitely was, of course, the chopper, of course, the Z fin, the Sonntag fin as well, and probably the N1 fin.
The N1, did you mention the ERD? Because that had pretty good acceleration,
Yeah.
so maybe you can get some top speed out of that.
Yeah, I would actually take the ERD maybe as well, yeah.
And the Finnish fin also had quite a solid
There was
speed
potential too, yeah.
Yeah,
Also.
so probably these 5-6 brands. And
You were
fins.
not so happy with the N1?
No, I think I would take the treble,
Yeah.
or not the N1, but yeah,
Okay.
mainly the same.
That concludes the test.
And now, guys, comes the most important part of the video, because one of you can win a fin of your choice. And to really get the full overview of which fin suits you best, we will leave a link down in the video description, which takes you to the full overview where you can see all the points we gave, an overview of the prices and length and model names. It will take you to the Surf Center page, which is my online shop, so be sure to check it out. We also sell a few of these fins, like the Finnish, like the chopper fin, so be sure to check it out. You can see the full overview, and in order to win your favorite fin, all you have to do is leave a comment and let us know which fin you would like to have, and subscribe to the channel, and well, you will enter the giveaway. And that's it. The big fin review. Thanks to all the fin brands for sending in the fins. We'll leave the links to the websites of the fin brands down in the description. Big thanks also to Michel for joining us. It was a tough and long day over in Denmark. And thanks to you guys for subscribing, for watching, and for liking the video. And well, I see you guys in the next video.